Hey everyone, this is Phil
And Lulu.
of the Capes and Lunatics podcast,
You're listening to Into the Night.
the Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 172, and you are with your High Priest Conchu, Ray. Hello. And joining me for tonight, a very special episode. First time on the show. Very excited to have him on. We have a Patruni and an ITK scribe. Welcome to Justin the Owl Osgood. Justin, welcome.
Well, thank you, Ray. And thank you, loonies, for listening.
Well, this should be good, loonies, because we have another Lunapic Classic Run review. So if you look up into the night sky, as always, you'll see it is a waning crescent. Well, it's not always a waning crescent, but you know what I mean. There'll always be a phase of the moon. And so Conchu decrees it is a Lunapic Classic Run review. And for tonight, we have Moon Knight Volume 1, Issue 17. It is Master Sniper's Legacy. This is an interesting one, to say the least, Justin.
It is. Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. Yeah.
Well, we're lucky. We're blessed again with two stories in it, but I'll be interested to hear what you have to say about both of them. To kick off anyway, as always, a huge thank you to the likes of, I get to say it directly to you, Justin, to the likes of the Patronis like you, Justin. Thank you so much, and thank you to all the other Patronis for putting up their hand and throwing some coin our way. So a huge thanks to Dustin, Justin, Derek, Wayne, Jordan, Josh, James, Russell, and Anthony. A big thank you to you all for your contribution, and always to you, the loony listeners. I've got to also mention a couple of sponsors we have. Hello Headphones, empowering gamers to play at their best, and Dreamland Comics from Illinois, the superhero superstore. So here we are, Justin. Just two loonies shooting the breeze.
That's right. Yes, after the full moon last weekend. The blue moon. Yes.
The blue moon. And so we're hanging on this waning crescent. Looking forward to this classic run review. While this is the first time you are on the show, Justin, I know we have chatted online regularly in the past. But just, I guess, for the other fellow loony listeners, whilst we have you, might as well get to know you a little bit more interest-wise. Let's park Moon Knight for a second. What are your other interests besides perhaps Moon Knight and comics?
Well, I think besides comic books, probably my other big passion is electronic music and all of its various permutations and forms: house music, techno, trance, ambient, just all of the different types has been a big passion of mine for going on about 30 years almost.
Wow.
And I have a huge collection of music by all these different artists that I've followed for years, and that's definitely a big passion of mine for sure. I also love Doctor Who. I'm a big fan of Doctor Who, mostly the 60s and 70s episodes, but I love all of it.
Is that Tom Baker? Or?
Well, Tom Baker, and also the ones before him and a few after as well. Yeah, I have a few favorites, but I love all of it, really. There's really none of it that I absolutely dislike.
Well, you probably answered my question there, but I was about to say, what do you think of the latest iteration of Doctor Who? How does that fall amongst all the other previous Doctors before?
It's hard to say. I usually judge them all in hindsight afterwards. After their tenure is complete, I'll go back and kind of rewatch everything and then kind of gauge it from there. But so far, I like a lot of it. There's some of it that I don't like. There's some of it that I'm waiting to see what the next season reveals as far as some of these story threads that they've left hanging. Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully we won't have to wait too long. They're saying there's going to be a delay, but we'll see.
I guess like I don't know, some of the shows out there and movies, things have been kind of stop-start ever since the Uncle COVID has come to visit. So,
Unfortunately, yeah.
um, I mean, admittedly, I haven't got into Doctor Who, but he's always interested me in I guess the premise of it, basically like a time travel. Is it a time travel, but also like space travel?
Time and space, yeah, both.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Are there any Doctor Who comics out there?
There are actually. There were quite a few of them actually that were published. I think starting in the 70s, and I know throughout the 80s and in the 90s and things. There's a few lines actually now being run by some of the more recent doctors, I think, as well.
Okay. And beautifully segueing into my next question. Speaking of comics, Justin, obviously we know Moon Knight, and I'd love to just ask you a little bit more about your favorite Moon Knight things about that. But comics wise, how about apart from perhaps the Doctor Who 70s kind of run, any other like recommended or your favorite titles that you'd really like to follow?
I have a handful of favorites that instantly come to mind, and one of them is the Spectre from the 90s.
Nice.
That John Ostrander wrote with Tom Mandrake doing the artwork. It was just a fantastic series, and they did the whole thing from beginning to end. It was the same team, and it was just some of the best stories I've ever read. So I can't recommend that one enough to people. And also there was a kind of a hidden diamond in the early 90s that I loved. It was published by DC, and it only ran for about 14 issues, but it was called Scarlet with 2 T's. And it was kind of like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer before Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but only by 6 months or so.
Wow.
And it was so witty and so original and so fun and so bizarre, and I just loved everything about it. And it's super cheap. Like people can find the whole run of that for like $5 on eBay or something.
Cool.
So that one is great. Also, Dan Brereton's The Nocturnals is another big favorite of mine. With that beautiful painted artwork.
I'm sorry, what? I'm unfamiliar with that one. Is that?
That one was done by originally it was Malibu. They did a line called Bravura in the early 90s, and it was a bunch of yeah.
I remember them. Yeah,
I remember Malibu. Yeah. But they did a line. I think Jim Starlin did one of those comic books too, called Breed. It was a bunch of creator owned books, usually miniseries and things. And this one called The Nocturnals. It's kind of a blend of like pulp stuff with some H.P. Lovecraft stuff, and
nice.
It's fantastic. Also, there's a British comic book called Nemesis the Warlock, which is a big favorite of mine. That one's also great.
Okay.
And finally, there is Whisper, which is about a female ninja that was published by First Comics in the 80s and early 90s. And that one was also very good, and written by none other than Stephen Grant, our Moon Knight alter ego. He's also a writer.
Fantastic. He does that on Moonlights.
Yes.
Is no pun intended. As a writer, that's fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
Far out. Now these are great. So don't mind me. I was writing all these down. I will include all these in the show notes, listeners. So so these are great recommendations. I love learning about other people's. Whisper stuff like that. Was that ever collected in trade, or are you pretty much a floppies reader, or?
No, I like the hard copies of everything. I have to have that.
Okay.
I have to have the physical stuff. I don't think they ever collected Whisper. That ran for about 37, 38 issues, I think, and that kind of fell into
so you have to pull that out each time, right? Or...
Yeah, but it's always a good read. It's always a great read.
Yeah, sometimes I don't mind that, actually. I was pulling out some old Daredevil of the 90s, and like one you kind of justify to yourself, okay, so I'm going to read this more than once in my in my life after I buy it, and I'm just going to bag it and just like file it away. So that's
Yeah.
good. But
Yeah,
two,
yeah.
there's something, yeah. But two, there's something quite nice about just making use of it and reading it and in its original form. So
Yeah.
I can imagine you do the same for
Yeah.
Whisper
Oh,
as well.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, these are very rich and varied recommendations here, Justin, as well. But moving back to Moon Knight,
Sure, yeah.
so we all know, I mean, you, as I mentioned at the top of the show, you have been an avid writer as well on the RTK Scribes in association with Paint Monk Library. So you, myself, and Russell mostly have been doing some writing for that website. We're going to try and chronicle every single Moon Knight issue. Things like COVID and schedules have kind of stalled that, which is, it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt that you do enjoy your Moon Knight. What would you say would be your favorite runs?
I think my favorite is definitely the original one, the very first volume. That's definitely my favorite. I love all those stories. I love the artwork, the writing, just all of it's kind of classic Moon Knight for me. Even towards the end when Alan Zillenantz
Yeah.
took over. Even those last few string of issues, I love those. Everything about that run is perfection to me, and the stuff also that predates it as well, from the Hulk magazine and
Oh, yeah, that was quite
stuff.
strong, actually. Yeah, that would have to be
such great stuff. Yeah,
yeah, that would have to be one of my favorite. There's that little window of the Hulk magazine where you have Sienkiewicz kind of doing a real Neil Adams-esque, and I
yes.
mean that in no bad way. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
he's an
that's
accomplished
yeah,
artist as himself, but there was a pulpy element to it. The way it was presented, like with the colors, it was really cool. And Mensch was obviously trying to find his way through to the character. But yeah, Volume 1 is fantastic. I mean, I can't fault it. I always, when I say that, I'm going to say there's a little disclaimer, because sometimes I may not give the issues, massively high marks and stuff. But for me, Volume 1 on a whole, like the way it works holistically, is really great. And what Doug Mensch has done to kind of carve out a particular tone for the character, I think is really apparent once you kind of see everything holistically in Volume 1. The stories are great. You get better stories. Some stories are better than others, but it's certainly a special run.
definitely.
Yeah, how about if we turn to other media? Actually, first I should ask Justin, are you much of a TV viewer or a film goer?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah,
Yep. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And okay, I'm just going to lead with maybe a double barrel question. So I guess what I wanted to ask was your thoughts on the upcoming TV show, but I wanted to also ask as well. So that's
No problem.
no, right, yeah, that was Moon Knight. He's cut off another face, so the ambulance has just had to.
They're chasing him down.
They're chasing him down. But what I wanted to ask as well, like the different elements, because there's so many different elements to Moon Knight, and there will be an Egyptian leaning in the TV show. First of all, before we talk about the TV show, what kind of aspects of Moon Knight, the character, do you find the most appealing?
Just how complex he is, really. That's what appealed to me the most. And also there's a lot of darkness in the character of Moon Knight that's different. It's hard to explain. It's different than the darkness that's in other vigilante characters. There's more of a refined edge to it. He uses that darkness as a weapon against himself in some ways, but against evil, really. And I always found that really appealing about the character. And also that he can use his mental illness as a weapon against.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, what I found, I guess I'm just like, just off the top of my head as well, like the latest run with Max Bemis, what really intrigued me with the identities there was the fact that you've kind of alluded to it from what you've said, is when his identities kind of will they kind of pit against each other? I find that kind of really interesting with this internal conflict, but it's a bit more of a literal internal conflict where you have Jake Lockley resisting, Stephen Grant or Mark Spector. I mean, there's so many things to Moon Knight that you can look towards. I mean, there's the obvious, like the Egyptian deities. You've got the identities. You have Mark as he's run as a mercenary, and what that means, because he does have a lot of red on his ledger. It comes out every now and again, which is very similar to some other characters, but it is interesting to point out for Mark. Then you have with say the Charlie Houston run, this kind of how he kind of ostracizes himself from his network, his family, and that really does, that does pity, because he's very much a lone wolf character, and
Yes.
that always kind of comes time and time again. Speaking of which, okay, before we actually go to the TV show, Justin, I just wanted to clear as well, because I know it was in the audio feedback, but I'm hoping you're okay with. I mean, you must have heard it from the audio feedback we got about the Age of Khonshu. I know that you said you hadn't read that. Or
Oh
you don't
yeah,
want to read it
that's
until.
oh
Yeah.
no, that's totally fine. I'm waiting.
Okay.
All I'm doing is I'm waiting for that to come out in trade before I buy that. That's really
Okay.
all I'm doing. But
Okay.
I haven't read the story, but
Yep.
to me it, and this is just from what I've read about it, it seems kind of like an extended what if.
Yes.
What if Moon Knight beat up Thor and took Mjolnir? What if Thor had the Phoenix? I mean, Moon Knight had the Phoenix Force. What if
Yep.
Moon Knight beat up everybody? That's kind of what it seemed like to me from the outside, without having read the entire thing yet.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. Because I mean, that's kind of how I see it in my head canon, whether or not it's meant to be or not. But anyway, I just
Yeah.
wanted to broach that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but the TV show then. So, what are your thoughts on that? Are you
Very
keen
excited
on?
about it. I'm very
Yeah,
excited.
yeah.
I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Yeah.
Nice.
Even more excited after I've heard about these casting rumors, and I hope they turn out to be true. Where I am a Doctor Who fan, I've gotten used to these red herring casting rumors, because every time there's a new
Ah,
Doctor Who, there is a litany of just casting rumors of so and so's the next Doctor Who, and so's rumored to be the next companion. Blah blah blah. We
yeah.
have to listen to that for months. So I'm used to these red herring casting stuff going on. I hope this one turns out to be true, though, because I think he
Mhm.
would do a fantastic job. I really do, and I hope it's. I've got my fingers crossed. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to ask you this as well, Justin, because this was a big one. You've probably heard it in some of our previous episodes. I don't want to make too big a thing out of it, but the rating as well, Justin, is that something that you're uncomfortable or nervous about, the TV
Mm,
show rating?
not really.
Hmm.
I'm confident that they'll do it well.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think so far the shows that they've done so far have been strong, and I think they've got a good foundation for things. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, great. I mean, oh, yeah, I mean, no secret as well that I'm looking forward to it. I think Oscar Isaac, if he is indeed confirmed, I think he'll do a great job. Um, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, they do retcon the characters here and there. I mean, there's that point about the Jewish heritage of
Mm.
Mark Spector, and if that at all would be shown on the TV show, we don't know. But I'm sure it'll be an entertaining, what is it? I think six episodes or 8 episodes. So,
Mm.
yeah, I guess we'll just again have to wait and see. Well,
Mm.
thanks. Thanks, Justin. This is really cool. Cool to know. Get to know a fellow loony, fellow Patroni. It's yeah, really cool. So, any loonies out there that are either interested in, say, Justin's recommendations or are big fans of them, you've got a fellow loony in Justin. For the likes of Scarlet, was that Brian Michael Bendis by any chance? That Scarlet with the double T? No,
No, that was.
no, it wasn't.
I'll have to look up the writers. I'm ashamed that I don't
Okay.
remember them off the top
No,
of my
no,
head.
no worries. I always thought it was, but I could be totally wrong. Because I have seen Scarlet, bouncing around here and there. But yeah, yeah. But anyway, that I know there's at least one other loony, Justin, Orion. We've had him on the show. He's one of the hosts at We Are Venomaniacs. He's a big Spectre fan as well. So
Oh,
I
fantastic.
I would strongly suggest you drop him a line, or Orion, if you're listening, drop the owl a line, and
Yes.
can I ask about your nickname, Justin? Just to be clear as well, Loonies, I haven't dubbed Justin the nickname, but he's got a pretty cool one, so we're going to run with that.
That
Where did that come from?
That goes back a long time, and to be honest with you, I'm also ashamed to admit this. I don't remember who gave me that. It was when I was very young, and it was because I love to stay up late. I was never a morning
Ah,
person. I always loved to stay up late, but apparently
nice.
I also used to speak my mind a lot when I was young, and they used to say that I was
Mhm.
wise for my years or something. I was a wise little owl or something like that. So it was kind of a nickname that stuck. But I've loved owls, really the birds themselves, all my life. I think they're fascinating creatures. So I thought, well, that's a lovely little nickname to have, I suppose. Yeah,
Yeah, that's actually a good bird to pick as well, because
yeah.
they are fascinating, and they're a little, for me, they're a little, how can I say, not mainstream, they're a little off the what a typical bird is, if there ever
Right.
is a typical bird. So there's a coolness factor to them. I
Yeah,
like it. I
yeah.
like it. Um, Well, moving on, I guess, to white noise now, Justin. So we generally,
Yes.
our news segment, there's not much in news. So again, I had to roll my eyes when I did the search. Moon Knight, type it in, filter news in the last week, and it's all the same gobbledygook. So I'm not
Mhm.
going to, repeat any of that. It's just, let's just say it's about pain casting, speculation, all that sort of jazz. But apparently, I've got on. I do believe so. Fellow High Priestess of Khonshu Rebecca on Discord. I believe she found an article. I don't have the article with me, but I believe Rebecca because she's one of the High Priests, Justin, and she mentions that apparently the working title for Moon Knight, the Disney Plus Moon Knight show, is Good Faith. So
Ooh,
that's
I like that.
yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, it's just a working title, but if you happen to be, I don't know, around Atlanta, or I have no idea where they film these things, but if you see Good Faith taped up on the side of a van, you're in the vicinity of Moon Knight, which is pretty cool.
Interesting.
Um,
I like that.
yeah, so that's a little bit of a tidbit there. So a bit of a shout out there to Rebecca. Now, also, Justin, as well, again, this ties into our audio feedback a bit later, but I didn't want to spoil anything for you. Just a little disclaimer, Loonies. This is a little bit of a spoiler for Avengers 38. So if you don't want to be spoiled, please tune out now and wait for, I don't know. I'll put it in the show notes or something. Just go fast forward a few minutes, and you'll get past this spoiler. But are you okay for this, Justin? I mean, you've
Oh
read
yeah,
it, so
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
you cannot unsee what you see. So,
Yeah.
so what we have in Avengers 38, there's a little bit of Moon Knight still. So, kind of from the age of Khonshu, and in 38, we know that Khonshu now is imprisoned on Asgard, and the other big thing. This was all in the space of 3 pages. Apparently, I haven't read it. I've just heard other people talk about it. And in the other little tidbit, Black Panther offers Moon Knight Avengers membership, but he declines it. Go
Ooh,
Moon Knight. What are your
yes.
thoughts here, Justin? What are your thoughts on having Khonshu on Asgard?
That's interesting. That's very interesting. What does Odin feel about that, I wonder? Or is he even still
Yeah,
around?
I don't know. He could be sleeping. It
Yeah,
could
I
be,
don't know.
um, and I wonder about the power sets. Like, is Khonshu like this badass deity that they've imprisoned, or are the Asgardians just like, oh, this guy's a minnow amongst carp?
Well,
I don't know.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird because during that there was that fantastic story in Thor, where all of the pantheons were fighting, and it was Set
Mm.
that was against that was trying
Oh, you're
to
going back. I love it. Yes,
that
yes,
was
I
trying
remember it.
to lay siege to Asgard, and
Yes.
then we saw the Egyptian pantheon, and they had been weakened by Set, but
Hmm.
it was never really talked about if they were on the same equal level as the
Mm.
Asgardians or even the Olympians. The Olympians
Hmm.
always seem to be the equal level of the Asgardians in terms
Yes.
of power, um, but the Egyptian pantheon never really got that spotlight, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's just the amount of exposure. I mean, the Olympians and the Asgardians are regulars in the Marvel universe.
Mm.
I've seen around that time, that Thor run that you're talking about, Justin. I remember the Celtic. What's his name? He's the
Oh,
Lord of
oh,
Lightning.
Lear. Yeah,
So,
Lear.
Lear. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
he's pretty cool.
yeah.
And he looks just as powerful as the Asgardians, but you don't see much of him.
Yeah.
Then you got the likes of, I guess, Gilgamesh. They're kind of like starting to get like second tier. But you know, by rights, he's a pretty powerful dude. Same with I forget the Japanese gods, Mishu. Oh, I don't want to butcher it. It's something Bashi. That was the whole thing in the was it the Chaos War?
Oh,
That
right. Yes. Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
were all the gods were kind of having to go up against it. So
That's right.
yeah, it's interesting. I find that absolutely intriguing. I'd love to have a bit more of a focus on the deities, the gods in the Marvel universe, and I'd love to kind of gauge where everyone kind of stands. Because Asgard's great. I love Asgardians and Olympians. But you know, to learn more about Set,
Mm,
you know,
yeah.
Horus, Anubis, that would be great. So,
It would be cool to
um,
see like a spotlight on the Egyptian pantheon in a comic book form. It doesn't even have to be Moon Knight related. It could be completely different.
yeah, yeah. I wonder as well. Yeah, that their handbook to the Marvel universe, that would be pretty cool if they had something. And I bet you they'll have like only like a page or two on it. But I really reckon they should delve into it because deities are good. Because like if you look at it these days as well, Justin, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but you know, back in the day, the deities were kind of revered and their stories told.
Mm,
Nowadays, like superheroes are pretty much doing the same thing, and you have the likes of say Superman, who has almost reached a kind of mythic status in popular culture. So it would be good to see the other deities get their time in the sun.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and also, okay, so, and then second, Justin as well, Black Panther offering membership to Moon Knight declining. Any thoughts on that? Are you happy? Did you want to see Moon Knight in the event in the Avengers?
No.
How does it run?
No,
No, yeah,
I think he's good outside the Avengers, yeah. I never really saw that as a good fit for him, to be honest with you. Yeah.
mm, yeah. I think I saw it kind of similar to say the likes of Doctor Strange, and even to the same. Um, way as saying Iron Man and Captain America. What you'd have anyway, I think, in Moon Knight, if he is in the Avengers, is that you'd have him in the Avengers title, but he'd be totally different to the
Mm,
solo title.
right.
I know that for sure with the Doctor Strange title, that was the case. I mean, he was written. I was reading the Jason Aaron run during that time, and then Mark Waid, and they really got into the character. But then
Mm,
when you see him in the Avengers, he's very much a generic kind of representation of himself,
mm.
and that's how I'd say probably they'll do it with Moon Knight. So I don't know. I'm a bit, half half. I would love to see Moon Knight in there, but I kind of know that that's not where I'd be 100% invested in the Avengers. I love the Avengers title, but
Mm.
you get more meat out of the solo series. I think.
Yeah, I liked him in the Secret Avengers a lot. I thought that was a great
Yeah,
that was a great place for him. Was it the Secret Avengers? But the main group, I never really saw
yeah,
that. But I could definitely see him filling in and being like a reserve member or something like that
yeah.
for
How
sure.
about the West Coast Avengers,
The
Justin?
West Coast, yeah,
Get him in the
absolutely.
WCA.
Oh yeah,
Get
back
him
when
and
he was
Tigra. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
rekindle the flame. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
cat scratch fever, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the consensus here is Justin, is that we'd love to see Moon Knight in more of anything, but
More of
he's
anything.
really more of anything, but his solo title is really where it's at. I mean, let's
Yes.
let's face
Yeah. Yeah,
it.
that's
Yeah,
where he shines the best, absolutely.
yeah. And finally, for White Noise, what I wanted to do, I'm going to give them a shout out now and towards the end. A huge shout out to Chase, who I reached out to on Instagram. I saw he has set up finally his moonknightfan.com website. Now, I posted this up in our Facebook group and page. It is an amazing website. So kudos to Chase for setting it all up. He, by all rights, looks like a huge Moon Knight fan. He catalogs, I believe it's everything that is in his collection, which is a crazy amount. So go check it out, Loonies, if you haven't. moonknightfan.com. Did you see this, Justin?
I did. I love this website. This is
How
a
cool is it?
fantastic site. And Chase, you did a great job on this. This is wonderful. So
Yeah,
great work. This is fantastic, and everybody should check this out.
Yeah, and for many of the newer Looney listeners that are kind of getting into Moon Knight, more recently, go check it out. It's a great resource to get up to speed with Moon Knight and to find out if you really do want to get build your collection. You actually know what to kind of look for, not only with the comics, but there's a whole lot of like toy action figures, statues, other things like mugs and tumblers, stuff like that. So it's all there. A big shout out to Chase. It's great work, and hopefully, I think for the last episode of this year, we'll be able to have Chase on the show to talk about it on our Conchu's Relics segment. So looking forward to that. Yeah, very excited. Well, how about Justin? How about we wet our whistle? What is it? It's late for you, so maybe a whiskey, a tipple. I don't know.
Oh, I'm having some Earl Grey tonight.
Lovely. keep the throat warm.
That's right.
Yeah, I've got a cup of just black coffee here to keep me going. We might take a. Yeah, I mean it's
still early for you. Yeah, it's still afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm not that bad with the alcohol, but Anyway, Justin, how about we sit tight, Looney listeners? We're going to throw to a break, and when we come back, we're going to hit straight into our Lunar Pick Classic Run review. So catch you soon.
We Are Venomaniacs is the Venom Site official podcast for all of your symbiote news, reviews, and point of views about Venom-related comics, movies, television, animation, and merchandise. We are available on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Google Play Music, and YouTube. Join us, won't you?
Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 172, and I am joined with Justin, the Owl Osgood. Justin, are you ready for this classic run review?
I am ready to go.
Excellent. I'm very interested to hear your points on this. And what we are covering, as mentioned at the top of the show, is Moon Knight Volume 1, Issue 17. Now, this was released in March 1982, and it's actually, you get a bit of bang for your buck. There are two stories in it, similar to Issue 16. So the first one is Master Sniper's Legacy, and that is by writer Doug Mensch, penciler Bill Sienkiewicz, inker Steve Mitchell, colorist Christy Skeel, letterer Janice Chang, and editor Denny O'Neil. And then we have a backup story, which again, I'm assuming is Mark Spector. Well, it is Mark Spector as a Merc before he actually becomes Moon Knight. So it's really a funky little tale. It's called The Worship of False Idols, and it's written by Doug Mensch, penciler Dennis Cohen, inker Joseph Rubinstein, colorist Christy Skeel, letterer Janice Chang, and editor, again, Denny O'Neil. Now, this is available for you Looney listeners on floppy format. It's also on digital, so on Marvel Unlimited, on Comixology, on Kindle, so you can purchase it as well. Or if you have the subscription to Marvel Unlimited, you can just read it there. And it is also in a trade format. So in the Essential Collection, which is, I think, long out of print, it's a black and white collection, Volume 2, or I'm going to be reading it off the Epic Collection, Volume 2, Shadows of the Moon. So, Justin, how are you? How are you going to peruse it tonight?
I actually have the original issue.
Excellent. So
Ah,
ads and all. So that will be cool.
ads and all, and it has an ad for Dungeons and Dragons on the back, which is
Oh,
fantastic.
is that the one with the? Oh no, it's probably too early for that. I was about to say the one with the red dragon. There
It
was an
is.
ad. Oh, it
Yeah,
is. Okay.
it is.
Hey.
Good
Oh,
memory.
oh,
Yeah.
good. Awesome. Oh, I'm pretty happy with that, actually. To tell you the truth. Um, so, listeners, as always, or if you haven't listened to this before, what we'll do is we'll go through a bare bones, which is our version of a synopsis, and this will be coming courtesy of a wiki. So a short synopsis, which Justin has so kindly agreed to read. And then Justin and I will just actually go into a free discussion about what we liked. I think, Justin, what we'll do, similar to what I did with Noel, I mean, with these two stories, we can really just bounce between the two.
Mhm.
So let's keep it organic and see
Sure.
how we go. So we have, like, we talk about anything. We've got aspects ranging from writing, art, themes, characterizations, and any references to other runs. And then at the end of our review, we do have our moon rating, and that can be of either two systems. We have our vanilla rating based on the phases of the moon, or Justin, you are privy to Conishu's rating system, pattern depending. It's Conishu's system rated from 1 to 10 from that almighty High Priest of Khonshu himself.
hmm
So, actually, out of interest, Justin, what will we be taking? Will you be taking Conishu's or the vanilla rating
I
tonight?
I think I'll be taking Connor's shoes.
Ah, excellent.
Yeah. I
Excellent.
like these descriptions. Yeah.
A little random, aren't they? But
Yeah.
they're a
like
bit fun.
yeah.
All right. Well, without any further ado, Justin, if you'd be so kind, I will cue Mr. Music, and if you please read out the bare bones for Moon Knight Volume 1, Issue 17.
Sure. Master Sniper's Legacy. Moon Knight is recruited by his old friend Benjamin Abramov of the Israeli Secret Service to help against the Third World Slayers. But when Abramov is assassinated right in front of Stephen's eyes, he first has to deal with the Slayer's agent, the Master Sniper. The worship of false idols. In his mercenary days, Mark Spector steals what he believes is a priceless Incan gold statuette, and then encounters a string of bad luck he can only attribute to the artifact's curse. But when he finally gets back to camp, it turns out what he grabbed was a plaster souvenir.
Yes, so there you go, Loonies. A summation of the two stories that we will be covering tonight, both quite varied, but both quite intriguing by their own standards. Justin, just to kick off as well, overall impressions. What did you make of both of the stories?
I really liked the backup actually better than the main story, I have to say. I loved seeing the early days of Mark Spector. I wish that we had kind of seen more of those backup stories. I really liked the Master Sniper's Legacy, but I think if I had to weigh up the two stories, I liked the second one better. It was just such a different vision of Mark that we've ever seen before. It was so cool.
Yeah, I tend to really agree with you there. Although we'll finally get to our ratings down the track, but yeah, it is really interesting, and they exactly right. They haven't tapped into it enough of seeing Mark Spector pre Moon Knight, and there is a curiosity about it, but there's also something fun, and definitely in this story a bit of lightheartedness, which I think is a perfect place to put it, because the Mark Spector or the Moon Knight in Doug Mench's world, for most of the issues, it's not totally grim and gloomy and dark, but it is very kind of straight.
Yes.
It's the stories are the criminals are they're all kind of very very much taken seriously. So there's a bit of flex in these backup stories, and I like it as well. Master Sniper's legacy, I thought, was pretty cool as well. There are some. I think the story overall for me was enjoyable. So the characters, we'll have to get into our discussions for some of that. So a couple of shortcomings on my part for it, but it certainly was a decent enough read. Okay, Justin, well, let's kick off into any of our particular notes. What would you like to start on? I'll give you first dibs.
Sure. Well, I have to point out a little editorial flub in the dialogue,
Yes.
and you probably know which one I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So the villain of the story is Nimrod Strange.
Yeah.
Which that name, I love it.
It is good. It is good.
Yeah. But looking over on, I think it's page 5, we see Benjamin Abramov speaking, and he refers to Nimrod as Hugo Strange, which most of us know is a Batman villain of quite some diabolical renown.
Yeah,
I know that Doug wrote a lot of Hugo Strange stories, I think, didn't he? Or
I'm not too sure, but I know he did a lot of stories for the distinguished competition in that end. And so did Denny O'Neil as well, right? So Denny O'Neil, So
and he was the editor on this. So I just the first time I read that, I kind of did a triple take. I was like, what?
Yeah, me too. I know it's a bit strange because the first thing I thought was like, number one, in like a nanosecond, it was like, hang on. So is there like a brother or something to Nimrod? But then it was like, hang on, I've heard of this name before.
Yeah.
And then he's fluffed the name. Yeah. And it's there for posterity. I mean, it's here in the Epic Collection. It's there in the original floppy. Unfortunately, it wasn't picked up. So a bit of a boo-boo there on, it could be Mensch or Denny O'Neil. I mean, come on. He's an editor, isn't he? So
Yeah, well. That's okay. Nobody's perfect, even these guys.
No. And this is kind of, this happens not a lot, but for me, I've seen it pop up every now and again around this era, like the 70s, 80s comics. I mean, and I don't know, less so. I could be totally wrong, but like the 90s onwards, there seems to be these less of these mistakes. But maybe it was time pressure. Who knows? So they couldn't like do a proofread at the end. But yeah, very interesting take there. And I'm just going to allude to it because I don't want to steal the thunder of our audio feedback. But on the sticking with that theme of DC, did you find any other similarities potentially in this run, or any of the other characters that seemed obvious?
Well, the villain was very kind of in especially in his aesthetic, looked a lot like Deadshot.
Mm-hmm.
With the eyepiece and the wrist gun. That was the first thing that I got from it. But I was at first I thought, well, was Deadshot wearing that costume then? And because originally he had a much different look, but I think he was wearing that then. I'm not sure who there, but
I'm not too much familiar with DC characters. I know of Deadshot. I don't know how old the character is as well. I just thought he looked a bit like Deathlock, to be honest.
Cyborg, yeah,
just because of the eyepiece and the fact that there's no. There are no hints there that Master Sniper is a cyborg or anything. It looks like he just got some tech, but and I want to actually maybe stay on this of characterizations, Justin, and get maybe your thoughts on here. What I did find a little bit, how shall we say, middle of the road, is that unfortunately I think a lot of the earlier runs, and not all of them, a lot of the earlier issues with Mensch, the villains don't seem to kind of click totally. So Master Sniper seemed a little, I think he seemed a little underdone. Aesthetically, he wasn't. I mean, we're talking like Randall Spector, the Hatchet Man, was made before this as well. He is a fantastic villain. You know, you got Bushman,
Right.
who's really good, and Morpheus, all that sort of stuff. But then you do get these odd villains like the Blacksmith, which was last issue,
Mhm.
and you get
Yes.
Master Sniper. It's a little bit like meh. I mean, what are your thoughts on
And,
Master
and there was
Sniper?
the Jester, too. There was the Jester in that Daredevil issue.
Oh, the Jester's actually really good though. I mean, I don't know if you've read a lot of Daredevil. I've been reading the introduction to the Jester, and he's pretty cool. But you know, that's just my taste.
Okay, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, I know what you mean. With this character, he was definitely underdone. His
mm,
costume, there wasn't really a costume, like a memorable
yeah,
costume. He just kind of had, just
yeah. Do you think is this not to say the onus, but do you think this is part of, say, Sienkiewicz's kind of arena as well? Like, I just wonder with writers and artists, like when Mensch like writes a character like Master Sniper, would he have a concept of what he would look like? Or I've heard in podcasts and read in interviews that the artists just the writers say this is the villain or this is a character, and the artist themselves actually fleshes out the character and gives it its visual nature. I just wonder here, who is it? Is it Bill or is it Doug who came up with this design? Because it's a little. I mean, there's not much to it. It could well be Doug going, look, hey, again, like he's famous for saying, I don't want any over the top characters here. Let's like keep it really understated because. Literally with a Master Sniper, you just get that eyepiece and that wrist blaster, and that's about it.
right.
Mm.
And there is almost a kind of a intention on keeping it away from the bright, flashy costumes, and I
Yeah.
get that too. But at the same time, I don't know, it just seems kind of a bland character, at least to me.
Yeah, I
anyway.
feel. Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at page, is it 7 now as well? In the Epic collection, at least, I think they recolored it, but it should be kind of similar to the floppies.
Yes.
Yeah, he's only got like the two. He's got boots and he's got like a green pair of trousers and just an orange top. It's really, really bland.
Yeah, very bland. Yeah,
But having said that as well, I guess he's not the. I mean, although the title of this issue is based on him, it's not really about him anyway. For me, the main character, the main antagonist would be Nimrod Strange,
right.
This guy that's brought, and I find this actually a very interesting issue. We'll go back point, and it goes to writing about this third world slayers kind of group, about bringing the left and the right extremists together, to form like a super group of hate.
Yeah, I love that idea. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me
Great
too.
idea for villain. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think in that instance, it really does work. What Mensch is created, and there is a little bit of comic flair there by having him, with 3 different women of 3 different ethnicities. A black woman, a white woman, and an Asian woman. Just,
I know. Yeah.
It's just a bit on the nose, but it's
it's very James
kind of
Bondy. It's very James Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very James Bond like, and this whole issue, I think, really does echo a bit of James Bond. I think I can't remember where I mentioned it. I think I chatted with you, or I put it in some notes. Oh, I put it in the notes somewhere about saying that this issue to me seemed like a movie, an action movie from the 70s and 80s.
Movie. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I can see that too. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed it in that sense. But yeah, what did you make of the actual premise of Ben? Was it Abramov being a friend of Mark?
I really liked that. I liked that we had a character from Mark's past show up and kind of have a big problem that he needed Mark's help with, and they obviously went back quite a while, and Mark obviously trusted him, obviously enough to let him into his house. I liked the idea of the mole too that Abramov had, the microdot, and I thought that was a neat concept.
Yes.
Yeah. That was
that
really
was actually smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the cryptic dying last words of what did he say? Third rib over heart. Because when I
Yeah.
first read that, I'm thinking, geez, he's really just kind of analyzing. He's really analyzing himself, isn't he? As he dies, it's like, oh yeah, I got shot there. But it's a little clever point there about the microdot. I absolutely agree. I like the fact also that Mark doesn't want to help him to begin with. So we see Mark not really wanting to return or to be associated with that lifestyle. With the Secret Service and that kind of shady past. But I guess he's forced into it when Abramov gets shot in the back by Master Sniper, and so he uses his Moon Knight know-how to try and find what's going on.
But then he also gets shot in the process and laid up for a total of, is it 3 weeks that he's laid up for?
It's a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Okay, and I want to point it out now because I'm looking at it. It's 7, 8, page 9 then for you, Justin. It's when Mark is laid up in the hospital.
Yes.
I just want to call out art-wise by Sienkiewicz. Like, Mark looks really weird there, and I think on the whole, in general, this issue, dare I say, it wasn't up to Sienkiewicz's standards. I don't know if you felt the same. I don't want to say it's a rush job, but yeah, there's something just a bit off by it. I mean, considering what we've seen from issues 1 to 15, at least, yeah.
And I agree with you in regards to this issue. The art was kind of a letdown, and I know exactly what you mean. The panel with Mark in the hospital bed, he looks like one of the Morlocks.
He does. See, his face is melted. It's crazy. Who was? Let me have a look at who was the. I'm not pointing fingers here, but I'm looking at Steve Mitchell, the Inca. I don't know whether.
I don't know. There's some times where I don't think that he was a good match for Bill Sienkiewicz. There's some issues where it works really well and some where it really doesn't, and I don't think it works well here. I think a lot of this might be Steve Mitchell. And there's another panel, too, of Marlene on the following page.
Yeah.
The panel of Marlene where she's kind of gripping her neck or something.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a good picture of Marlene. I'm sorry.
No.
That's
so
best work. So
it's really interesting.
I kind of think it's Steve Mitchell. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have to. It must be because again, look, another couple of pages from there. There's actually it's a small panel. It's Mark on the phone. And that's a bit more like Sienkiewicz that we know. Like there are glimpses of it, but then there are glimpses of really stylized. I guess for the most part, Moon Knight looks decent. I'm just flicking through where he's fighting. I mean, he still looks pretty cool. Yeah. But the everyone from Frenchie to Marlene to Mark looks a little bit off, which is a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. Yeah.
Bouncing just to Justin, just to the worship of false idols. And what did you make of Dennis Cohen's art there?
I thought that was fantastic. I love Dennis Cohen. I've always been a big fan of all of his artwork, and Joe Rubinstein's a great inker too, and they're a good match together here. I thought,
I thought it was really really good actually. I mean, I think in that last Classic Run review that I did with Noel, we did have a little bit of a go at Dennis Cohen. He did issue 16 with Blacksmith.
Oh, and right.
Some of it did look a bit inconsistent, but for this part, in this backup story, it's a lot better. And I wonder again if it is the finisher, like as you mentioned, Joseph Rubinstein. So a lot more solid in this. I love Mark with his ever 5 o'clock shadow.
And the bandolier bullets.
Yeah. But no, really, really fun stuff. I mean, why don't we stick to something here then, Justin? Any good points from this story?
I liked the lightness of the tone of it all. It was nice because you don't see that a lot in a Moon Knight comic book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was kind of like one of Indiana Jones's worst possible days. It was.
Yeah, it had a bit of that, didn't it? It had that kind of smart kind of remark. I'm looking at oh gosh, what page? Because I'm on the Epic Collection. There's a bit where he swings down and he has to avoid a crocodile. He lands on the other side of the river. He gets attacked by a leopard. He shoots that dead, and then he's got this python.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got to be kidding me.
and then yeah, you got to be kidding. Yeah, and there's a full picture of him just wrapped around in. So that for me was the epitome of this issue, and the ending, of course, with the false idol. But yeah, I thought this was just a very fun thing. I hope this would be it. I'd love to see more of this, get this happening. I wonder if it actually can still be done today. I don't know, Justin, only because I don't know if maybe writers would see this as a good fit for Moon Knight, but I'd certainly love to see it.
I would too. I mean, it doesn't have to be these light stories either. It could be something more serious about
Yeah, true. Yeah.
darker stuff that he did. But I'd like to see a little bit more lightness. I mean, sometimes that's nice to round out some of the darker edges.
Yeah, for sure. And similar to I think what Noel mentioned in our previous review as well with this backup story is that it really does have like that pulpy feel, and Noel actually even described it as him being like I can't remember a something James Bond. It's like a really Mark Spector as a I don't know a goofy James Bond or something. I think he called it. And it really comes off here. So yeah, I really enjoyed that as well.
Yeah. And the backup also has one of my favorite sound effects when he breaks the statue in half. Baksh.
Oh, hang on, let me see the last page. I'm Baksh. That's cool. My God, yeah, that was funny. I did appreciate it. It was a bit of a surprise as well, like when he finds himself in that Incan temple with all those idols. I mean, that was pretty cool. And he's saying, "Oh, it's Christmas," Yeah. Again, I think the idols were the design of them was a little, I don't know, a little weird. But I'm no Incan expert. It was strange. But yeah, no, the whole story was pretty good. It's hard to talk about, I guess, characterizations of this in this backup story because I guess this is before we know Mark Spector as Moon Knight. It's before he's gone through all that highly traumatic events that led up to him being the Moon's Knight of Vengeance. But for all intents, it looks like he's pretty much like an upbeat sort of guy.
This must have been before he met Bushman and went down
exactly.
that road. Yeah.
And so flicking back to Master Sniper's legacy, characterization wise, how did you see Moon Knight Mark Spector played out in that one?
I think character-wise, everybody was pretty true to form. I don't think anybody was written kind of anti or against their character. Everybody was pretty consistent.
Yeah, I think so as well. One little touch I loved because we all know, and I think I mentioned it many times in previous episodes with Marlene, how she's sometimes she's always the Deus Ex Machina to sometimes always it doesn't work. I shouldn't have said that, but she sometimes is a Deus Ex Machina to Mark Spector. I love their little sparring at the beginning, and
that was great.
Yeah, and although Mark does come out the better, when they were fighting and training, she kind of gives him the slip and gets him, to fall on his ass, saying, Yeah. So so what was it? So Mark says shoulders not separated after he kind of flips Marlene. She kind of trips him up. He goes, bottom's not separated.
And that's one of the reasons we love Marlene. She's sassy. She's great.
Exactly. And I love it that that's still kept in there because she is a very intriguing character in her own right and fully capable. I mean, I see her up there with Frenchie as well. We've seen Frenchie in Mark Spector Moon Knight. He can handle himself. So can Marlene. So that was good to see. How about just in the Nimrod Strange, I didn't get your thoughts on. It was a good concept. It's a great concept about the Third World Slayers, right? And I believe that comes later. Doesn't this returns, right?
Well, I think the next issue is when they go to
a follow-on.
Israel.
Ah, okay, right, yeah. I mean, it's too long ago. I can't remember.
It's that great wraparound cover on the original issue.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
So yeah, this is a great setup for the whole Slayers Elite story. That's the one thing that I really like about this issue is it's a great setup for everything that comes after it.
Yeah, right. And interestingly enough as well, I mean, we're looking at Moon Knight beyond New York. You know, he's starting to travel around. He's starting to, really see his roots as a merc. You know, he going around from place to place. So that I think is a really interesting take on Moon Knight as well. It's easy to just have him local. You know,
definitely. But here he's going to Switzerland. He's fighting on a mountain. You know, he's diving off a mountaintop and trying to catch the wind in his cape. You know, it's it's definitely not his wheelhouse. But
no,
you know, that's why we love him, because he does stuff that's out of his wheelhouse all the time.
Yeah. And like you don't, I mean, you do sometimes, but you don't get the likes of, say, Daredevil, who pretty much stays in New York. Spider-Man does venture out here and there when he has to. But yeah, for the I like this versatility, similar to like the Punisher, I guess. The Punisher moves around wherever his targets are. So again, it's that kind of merc mindset of not being constricted, because you can't. If he's stuck in New York, there's only so much that he really can do.
Exactly. Especially when you have a threat that says global is the Slayers Elite, they can basically go anywhere and be anywhere. So you have to fight them on those terms.
Yeah. True. I don't know any other point. I'm trying to look. I don't think there are any other references to any runs I can see here. As you say, it leads up to the next issues. But that's about it. No, there's a nice little fight scene between Mark Spector and these thugs that they are part of the Third World Slayers, aren't they? They try and get Mark because they're looking for the Microdot,
right?
But he doesn't have them. But then it's really weird because the Master Sniper starts shooting them all. So
I wonder.
I don't know whether he's not much of an assassin, is he? He's a bit messy.
Oh no, they aren't. I don't think that they're not with him. That's right.
Because they tend to be they turn out to be kind of allies with him. With Mark. It's a little bit ambiguous, but yeah, you're right.
There's a few different groups here.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I don't know. Overall, would you like to give this a rating, Justin, or are there any other points that you'd like to raise?
No, like I said, I do like this issue. I have some misgivings with the art, but I liked it as it was a great setup for the story that followed. I really like the whole Nimrod Strange Slayers story. I think that was one of the better stories of the original series, and I think this was a really nice way to kind of get all that lined up. It also kind of reinforces my belief that we should have a more substantial rogues gallery for Moon Knight.
Yes.
I felt that Nimrod Strange was a great step in that direction to get him a really good nemesis that was worthy of his medal. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, well, he's global as well.
Right.
So it's not like, I mean, Kingpin is no slouch, but we're talking about Nimrod Strange, whose reach goes beyond just the city. So he's a really great character, actually, that they could have really explored. Any future Moon Knight writers, I'm wondering if they will dip into it, because this run, 17, 18 at least, is pretty an intriguing one. So yeah, and I don't know the second story. I guess just any final thoughts. I just really enjoyed it. I don't know, really not much else to say.
I enjoyed Yeah, I enjoyed really everything about the backup story. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how about we turn to some ratings then? So,
Sure.
Justin, you mentioned you will take from the Konishi's rating system. So, out of 10, what would you give Moon Knight Volume 1, Issue 17? Let's go separate stories. Master Sniper's Legacy, first off. What would you give that?
I would probably give that one a 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So that's a Getting Small Moon
Yeah.
we got there from Justin. I've given it a little bit more. I've given it a 6.5, and
Oh,
I can see you doing something there, Justin, which I may follow suit. But anyway, we'll say 6.5 for Master Sniper's Legacy. I think there's enough there to actually make it a decent story. Just the shortcomings were the art, unfortunately, which is, understandable. You can't reach the heights all the time. There are various factors for that, and also the characters. So some of the characters, like Master Sniper, I felt could have been made a lot more alluring, visually. I don't know. It's a weird description, but like make
I
him.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, make him a little bit more. I don't want to even say gimmicky, but make him stand out a bit more.
Yes, more
But having
memorable.
bit more memorable, exactly.
Yeah.
But having said that, Nimrod Strange, I think, and this concept with the Third World Slayers is a really cool idea. So it's something that I guess you don't really see in other comics. So I'm glad that we have it in Moon Knight. Again, I'm talking about other street level like Spider-Man, Daredevil, potentially Punisher, but even back we're talking back early 80s, Punisher I don't think was doing this sort of stuff.
No. I
So
think
yeah,
the only
so
one that was fighting terrorists back then was maybe Captain America. He was fighting Ultimatum and Adam the Flag Smasher and all those people.
Mhm.
So
But even Captain America had a bit more, dare I say, comic bookiness to it than
True.
say this Doug Mensch run. Where I mean, apart from Moon Knight's costume and the odd eyepiece and wrist blaster, it's very much a I don't know if that's a bit too much, but it's very much a like a really just intriguing international story. So yeah, 6.5 for that. How about for the backup story we're looking at, and what we've mentioned, all our thoughts on the worship of false idols? What would you give this one, Justin?
I'd probably give that one a 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're looking at a solid round boy. So from the Konishi's rating system, we got a solid round boy there for Justin. I guess it's the reason being those points that we've raised before, right, Justin? I mean, it's a nice tight story. Yeah.
Yeah. If it was there was a little bit more to it, I would have given it a higher rating. I think I kind of wished it had been a little bit longer, but then it wouldn't have been a backup story, so that would kind of make it redundant.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you hit a good point, actually. I mean, the brevity of it. Would have loved to have seen it more. I was just thinking then if I originally have given it 6.5, which actually puts it on par of Master Sniper's Legacy, but I do feel though it is slightly better than Master Sniper's Legacy. But look, I'll stick to 6.5. It's in my reality, it's probably a 6.7, stuff like that. But we'll just keep it around there at 6.8. I don't think it reaches a 7. Like, I reckon if it's longer, for me, it'll probably be a 7 because it was short. But I mean, it made good use of its time, so I can't fault it for that.
Yeah.
I'll stick to my guns. I'll say 6.5. I'll stick to my wrist blasters. I'll say 6.5. I'm going for I'll go for the vanilla rating then. So both of mine are around the waning gibbous region. So Justin, then just looking at your marks, an average of 6.5. So you're somewhere between a Getting Small Moon and a solid round boy. And my average is 6.5 as well. So very cool indeed there, loonies. Go check it out. It is worth a read. Right, well, so there you go, loonies. That was our review. Go check it out on any of the platforms available. it's worth a read. Let us know what you think as well. I've got a discussion thread up there. Not much feedback by way of it, but we did have some audio feedback. But before we get to that, Justin, a huge thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been really cool, very fun to finally chat with you.
Yes,
over the interwebs.
Yes.
With our spectacle segment, I just wanted to ask if there's any plugs or any anywhere that people can contact you, any projects you want to mention.
I am working on writing some stuff right now, but it's still too soon to really announce anything.
Okay.
I'm kind of laying low on the internet right now, actually, so people can't really find me.
Okay. No, good. Yeah.
But
For sure.
that will change in the future. I think next year I'll have more of a presence.
Okay.
But
Nice.
with this year, especially in America, with the way things have been, I've been off social media for quite a while.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, totally understandable. Well, it's thank you so much for coming on, and I thanks for, it's great to correspond and chat with you online as well. Anyone that would want to contact Justin, I guess you may be lurking around the Facebook group and
Oh yes,
page.
I'm on the Facebook group on occasion. I'll pop my head out there and say hello. Yes.
Cool. Excellent. I just with Spectacle as well, I just want to shout out again Chase, again with that magnificent webpage. So check it out on moonknightfan.com. It's a really good website, a great resource again, a great repository of information for Moon Knight. And it's just aesthetically, the interface is really, really nice. It's very slick.
Definitely.
Yeah. And looking forward to chatting with Chase in the weeks to come. Also, as well, just a couple of bits I want to call out. So, a couple of plans for our audio serial adventure, The Hunt for Khonshu's Golden Scepter. Now, I've been giving this a lot of thought. We're up to the season finale, so that is our part 13. I want to actually flesh it out a bit more because it's a big ending. So, what I'm planning on doing is I'll release that, Loonies, at the end of the year. So, that will be as a whole audio drama adventure. So what I'll hopefully do, cross fingers, is that I'll combine all the episodes 1 to 13 together, and that will include the brand new finale. So things are hotting up there. I've got the original ending, which I will be keeping, but I'm just going to be adding a few more scenes in just to really wrap it up proper. Also, as well, we'll have some bonus episodes over the festive break. I know it's only November, but I just wanted to get in early. So we'll have our usual weekly show, but what I thought I'd do for, again, some newer listeners, I might just extract some of the interviews that I've done over the course of the podcast. And so I'll release 3 interviews just as bonus episodes for those that haven't heard it, basically those from our episode 100. So it was when I spoke to JMD Mateus with Anthony from Capes on the Couch, also an interview with Greg Smallwood, and finally the big one with Doug Mensch. I'll release all those separately over the course of a couple of weeks, spread out, towards the end of the year. So a lot of fun there. Justin, it's so crazy, this prompt sheet. I really should have put Nightlines, our feedback, a little bit straight after our review. I've just followed our prompt sheet. We do have, as mentioned, some audio feedback. So, again, good friend of the show, the Drop King Phil, Justin. So we're going to have a listen to this and hear what Phil has to say about not only issue 17 that we just reviewed, but also on Avengers 38. So,
okay.
So Phil, take it away.
Hello, High Priest of Khonshu Ray, and you loony listeners. This is Phil, the Capes and Lunatics and Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks podcast. Coming to you with my thoughts on Moon Knight 17 from March 1982. I'd almost forgotten this was in my collection. I found this in a back issue bin a few years ago. That magical thing Ray thinks us Americans take for granted, the magical back issue bin. But yeah, I enjoyed this story. I like Doug Mensch's writing. I've always liked his Moon Knight and his Ray writing. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like, I like this era of Moon Knight. It makes sense that Mark Spector could be involved with spy work at some point because he was a mercenary. He did travel the world and travel in certain circles at some point. But I hate to burst Ray's bubble, but is this just like a, I don't know. I know you hate the knockoff, comparisons, Ray, but I mean, the big boss who we don't even see it in this issue, Nimrod Strange. I don't know if they corrected in any reprintings or anything. But like I said, I have an original copy on page 5. Mark's friend calls Nimrod Strange Hugo Strange, as in Dr. Hugo Strange, the villain, who Doug mentioned has written, like I said, and has written some Hugo Strange stories, so maybe it was on the brain. I don't know. Nimrod Strange. Who is this guy? Didn't we just elect him out of office here in America? There you go. Bad joke. Or good joke. I love the female bodyguards. And then the master sniper with the gun on his arm. Boy, this guy's good. He's kind of, how do you put it? He's a dead shot. Yes. Yes, my other comparison. Yes, does this guy remind anyone of Deadshot with the sight over one eye and then the gun on his hand? Yeah. Sorry, Ray. Did you? I'm just waiting for you to say, "Oh, I love this story. I love these characters." Yeah, they're DC knockoffs. But no, I mean, it's still a good story. Very interesting. And of course, at this point, the Moon Knight suit must have no bulletproofing, Kevlar, anything, because Mark Spector gets shot and is in the hospital for 3 weeks. I swear that's like something you don't see even in comics of this age. It's just like the hero put out of like commission for 3 weeks. And then of course the whole battle in the snow, which again, for the first time, for once they don't see Moon Knight coming because his suit blends in with the snow. And very interesting, but I don't know. In some ways, Mark seems way too cavalier with his secret identity. But again, I mean, it's a great adventure story. Again, Moon Knight fits into this well because he was a mercenary, traveled in all those circles. And I'm not sure if Ray was going to talk about this, but the backup story with Mark Spector back in the day, Mark Spector mercenary going after this idol. And, oh, look, he gets attacked by a bat, Ray. But then Mark gets home and, oh, it's a fake idol. So, that one was a cute little story. And, like I said, I like this issue. And I know Randall will hold me down to a proper grade. I would give this one a solid B. Like I said, good plot, good story. Of course, the art, of course, it's a Sienkiewicz art, so of course it's excellent. Really good story, cute backup story, and I hope at some point down the road, Ray, and when whoever covers the, further issues so we can see this Nimrod Strange, so Dr. Nimrod Strange. Sorry, Ray. Nimrod Strange, Master Sniper, or they're DC real pops, man. Because everyone loves the Alright, no, I'm just kidding. Alright, and I'm sure Ray talked about this in the news or the idle chat, but our boy Mooney showed up once again in Avengers for 3 whole pages, where Black Panther basically offers. I see everywhere that they say Black Panther offered Moon Knight membership, but shouldn't it be like, he offered to reinstate his membership because he was an Avenger back in the late 80s and early 90s, thanks to his time on the West Coast Avengers, which my co-host Lil said the West Coast Avengers don't count that way, so she is at Lil Hellfire on Twitter, so get her, boys. But And then I was talking about this with my other co-host Charlie, who was saying, "Oh, why does he have to be so difficult?" It's like, "Oh, I'm a loner. I'm not going to work with you people. Why don't you go try to stop Khonshu?" And again, I was like, "I'm sorry, Ray. I know you hate this, but I'm like, that's bad talking to any of the Justice League, saying, 'Oh, I can handle it myself.'" Maybe not even so much now, but just like even just a few years ago. So again, it's not just the tech and the cape, and that, I mean, sometimes in certain ways, yeah, these two characters are close, and I just have a big feeling, like I said, it was only 3 pages, but I have a feeling that maybe towards the end, I don't know if it's going to be the end of Aaron's run or just the end of this arc when they go to battle Mephisto. Are the Avengers going to make a deal with Khonshu maybe for his help battling Mephisto? And maybe we'll get Mark the return of Moon Knight. Maybe, Khonshu will ask Mark to help, or maybe Mark and Khonshu will reconcile. Who knows? The Avengers is good, but again, I'm not looking forward to it as much without Moon Knight in it every issue. So, again, Marvel, everyone on this podcast is pleading with you. Give us more Moon Knight. A series, an ongoing series, a mini-series, whatever. Because Ray will write it. Come on. All right, but again, thank you for listening to me. Great classic issue. Again, the brand new Avengers was, decent. I mean, the Moon Knight always makes it better. But, all right. Until next time, because you can't keep me away from reviewing this stuff. Catch ya.
Yes, thank you, Phil. Thank you for those words. A little bit top heavy for me on the Man-Bat side, but thank you so much. Look, I can't fault you, Phil. Justin, you shared a lot of those sentiments as well, like with the likenesses of say Deadshot and that Hugo Strange.
Yeah.
Era.
I'm glad that he caught that too. Yeah. The Hugo Strange stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Believe me, Phil will always pull me up short with any sort of Bruce Wayne reference, Phil. But that's what I love about you. So, no, thank you, Phil. And what Phil gave it a B. So that's a pretty good score.
Oh,
I think that's around our that's a kind of around our score. Probably, dare I say, a little bit higher than our scores. So, well done,
so.
Phil.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And yeah, and he also mentioned about the Avengers. Looking forward to looking forward to the Avengers. Although no Moon Knight as well. I guess similar to what we said at the top of the show, Justin. It will be fun to have Moon Knight in there, but I guess. And actually, it made. Are you an Avengers collector?
Yeah. I actually collected West Coast Avengers when Moon Knight was in it.
Okay.
So I did like him in that team. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a good way to keep Moon Knight in the public eye at the time. But like I said, if he's in the Secret Avengers, I think that's a great placement for him. But in the main, I don't really see that working as well.
Yeah, not true. I mean, it did augment the enjoyment of the Avengers. I mean, I do collect some of the Avengers, not so much the Jason Aaron run. It was fun, but I don't know. I like some of the other runs. But thank you, Phil. That's it's pretty cool. Nice to see you go Moon Knight. So thank you, listeners, once again, and mentioned. It is never too late to drop some feedback on issue 17 or issue 38 of the Avengers. Just pop a line down in our Facebook group or Facebook page. We very much appreciate it. Next phase, episode 173, we have a Waxing Crescent, and that's a Lunapic Modern Run review, and that will be Moon Knight Volume 6, Issue 9. That's a Brian Michael Bendis, Alex Maleev run. And we'll have High Priestess Khonshu, Rebecca, and the power of Chad for that one. So looking forward to that. So we've got back-to-back Lunapic reviews, so that will be fun indeed. As always, you can contact us on email at itkmoonnight@gmail.com. We've got a Facebook page and group. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Discord. Discord's growing by the minute. Get vocal. We've got a website. And as mentioned, we're on Patreon as well. And speaking of which, if you go to patreon.com/ITK Moon Knight, there are plenty of incentives. You too can be like Justin the Owl Osgood and be privy to all the bonuses. Sorry.
And they're definitely worth it.
Thank you so much, Justin. Yeah, I hope so. I'd really want to give as much as I can to the Loonies because it's such a fun community.
If you're listening to this, definitely do what you can to get on the Patreon wagon. It's definitely worth it.
Thank you, my good sir. As mentioned at the top of the show, Hello Headphones. If you use the code ITK Moon Knight, you'll get 10% off their online store. And for Dreamland Comics in Illinois, if you use the code MOON, you will get a whopping 20% off there. There's still so great stuff there. We're also affiliate members to Entertainment Earth, so the link's in our show notes. If you use that to purchase anything, every purchase will help our show a little bit to keep the lights on. And finally, we are part of the Collective. So there's a fair few shows. We all agree and do the same things. We love trying to cross-promote, love trying to come up with events, which we have done in the past, but we're all character-based or geek culture-based podcasts. So the likes of the Nexus of All Realities, a Man-Thing podcast. We have the Signal of Doom from local Dave Finn and also Sons of the Dragon, an Immortal Iron Fist podcast. Those sorts of shows you can catch on The Collective. Just search for hashtag TheCollectiveNet on Twitter, and that should take you to any of the show's tweets and posts. So that about wraps it. A huge thank you again, Justin. I'm hoping you have a good evening.
Thank you. And by the way, too, real quickly, the comic book I mentioned, Scarlet, with the two T's. I finally found the writers of that I had forgotten their names. It was Tom Joyner and Keith S. Wilson.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So
there you go.
Throw that in there before.
Oh no, for sure. No, thank you so much. I will definitely get some links in the show notes. So all you got to do, Looney listeners, click on that, and you'll learn all about those titles. As mentioned as well, if you're big fans of what Justin said, drop it in. Even if it's non-Moon Knight related, just drop it in our group. Get some discussion happening. Jump on Discord. Yeah, we love chatting about Moon Knight and just comics in general. So, once again, Justin, huge thank you. And as always, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.
Bye.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.